36 years of basketball knowledge and life skills. Your host, Coach Goins, focuses on today's topics on and off the court, helping players and coaches achieve their goals. So get ready for another fast break episode of Basketball More Than a Game with your host, Coach Goins.
Hey, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's that time of week, yes, for our Sunday conversation. I'm your host, Coach Goins. Listen, you say, Coach, man, what's popping? Well, you know what? We are on a remote location. We're not in the gym. We're not in the studio. No, actually, we are at Victory Worship Center in Staunton, Virginia. You say, Coach, man, you always hanging out there. Well, if I ain't home and I ain't on the road, most of the time I am right here at Victory Worship Center. But listen, before we get major into this whole conversation today, we got to make sure we pay the bill so we can stay on the air. So we like to thank our title sponsor, and that is none other than Mr. Curtis Jackson, your independent broker agent benefits coordinator, insurance salesman out of North Carolina, and now servicing Virginia as well. So for your insurance needs, please reach out to him at 919-614-5796. And make sure you tell him that you heard this advertisement on Basketball More Than a Game. We appreciate him and his staff for his continued support of our program. So, you know, say, Coach, man, what are we talking about today? So, you know what, as we always say, make sure you got them laced up tight and make sure you're going to lean, listen, and learn, because we have none other than Mr. Dwight Simmons from Staunton, Virginia. And somebody say, who is Dwight Simmons? You're going to find out why he's on this show. So without further ado, Coach, we welcome you to Basketball More Than a Game.
Thanks a lot, brother. It's great to be here.
Hey, you know what, folks? So you know what? We're going to go, not only we're going to talk about a little bit of local basketball, we're going to talk about life. We're going to talk about what makes Dwight a success, not only in his everyday role as a husband, as a father, as a coach, but most importantly, what he's doing on the international market. So with that, without further ado, make sure that I recognize our followers and appreciate everybody that's dialing in on the U.S. as well as all of our folks on the international market. We just found out that we got some folks dialing us in the DR, the Netherlands, Kuwait, and Canada. We also want to appreciate our folks in Japan, Australia, United Arab Emirates, United Kingdom, Finland, and Germany. So we want to give everybody a shout out and just appreciate your continued support. So keep the emails flowing. Hit us up. Let us know what you want to hear, and we'll try to dial that in. And you can make sure you check us out on iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean.com, Facebook, and also SoundCloud. Now, we got all that out of the way. We're going to get down to brass tacks. So, you know what? You say, who is Dwight Simmons? So, you know what? I'm going to let him tell you that a little bit, who he is. So, Coach, if you don't mind, kind of introduce yourself and just tell the folks who you are.
Well, I think first and foremost, I am a Christian.
Amen.
You know, Jesus Christ is my Savior. Secondly, I am a husband, a father, a mentor, teacher, and whatever else I can do to help people out.
You know what? And that's a plate full. So, you know, so you say, well, Coach, you know, how does this come about? So let me tell you how this come about. I've known Coach for several years, and just had the opportunity to work with him in the last couple of years as assistant coach with our travel basketball team that we had here at Victory Worship Center, Act Sports Eagles. And he did a great job. And you know what? We're going to talk about that in a second. I'm going to go ahead and let the cat out of the bag. We went to Florida last year trying to get these guys dialed into the process, and we were there, and we didn't have a good showing. But I want you to know what happened when we came back on this side of the planet. These young men went on and worked hard all season long and ended up winning the state championship right here in their hometown at Lee High School. We had a couple other guys from Fort High School where actually Dale Curry played, and Lee High School is where Kevin Madden played. So those are two, pretty big basketball names. And in that, so you say, Coach, how's this tie in? Well, Coach Simmons had the opportunity to coach in probably 90% of these guys ever since the third or fourth grade and working. So, Coach, if you don't mind, kind of share with our listening audience, what you did and the time and the effort that you put in as you saw that whole evolution from young kids, almost boys to men, if you will.
Well, I think it's like any other coach. You want to see your players achieve their best. You want to pull the most out of them that you can as a basketball player, but as a person as well. So, ever since the boys were, 8 years old, we've been working together to build towards something. And we've put the time in, and believe me, a lot of time, a lot of heartache, a lot of headache. But we put the time in, And it was great to see our boys achieve a goal that they had set for themselves. And as well as
Right.
we had some rough practices.
Ooh.
You know it. We had a rough time in Florida, but the boys learned. And I feel like we did our job. I can see them now. I can talk to them right now. They'll talk to me just like a friend, which means they trust me and they're honest with me. And that's all I could ask for. Basketball is, just the cherry on top.
Right.
The relationship is the key. And we've been building that for a long time, and it's paying off right now.
You know what? And folks that don't know, and people say, well, it's just a sport. And that's why the title of our podcast, Basketball, More in the Game, because it is more in the game. It's allowed us to be able to think about it. We were able to sit back and take these young men on. Some of them had never been on a plane before.
That's right.
Here it is, 2016, almost, juniors and seniors in high school, and they had never been on an airplane. And then be able to, and some of them had never been away from their parents. And yes, we had parents crying in the parking lot. So you know how it is. We're gonna keep it real, not calling anybody out, but that is the truth. And again, it's just coaches like Coach Dwight that's taking time out. Think about getting up on Saturday morning, rolling out, packing his van and sweeping through the neighborhood and loading these kids up and, take them to practice, taking them home for practice, and in between that, feeding some of them, sheltering some of them. And then when somebody uses the word coach and use it in the wrong frame, I have major problems with that. But hats off to this outstanding gentleman that's sitting across the mic from me, from his time, his talent, and everything that he and his family poured into these young men, because I didn't have the opportunity to be at the state championship game, but how was that feeling? I know as a parent, as a coach, but I wasn't there. But tell me, as that clock started winding down, I want to hear from you. I don't want no player. I want to hear from a mentor. You poured into these young guys all their life. So share that with us.
I tell you, the game was. They pretty much had the game in hand the whole game. A couple of times got a little close to get within, 8 points or so. But most of the time, they were still in the lead. But I can tell you, as a parent and as a coach, that game was the most anxious-filled game that I've ever been to. As, being a coach and everything, that game, just trying to see your boys accomplish their goal. And, I'm trying not to bite my nails, and I'm just sitting there just as anxious as it can be, tapping my foot, shaking my hand, whatever I can do to try to release some of this nervous energy. And then finally see them win it. When they got it wrapped up, there's 30 seconds left, and you're going to win. It was just, exuberation, just to see my boys on that floor just happy as they could be. It's just, it's nothing like it.
Right. And folks, if you don't ever have the opportunity to win a state title or win a championship, what Coach is framing out, and again, my son won the state championship in baseball. So I'm sitting there waiting for that last pitch to come down and that last, strike, the ball, they won it. It was a ground ball to third base, and the kid came up and he threw it to first base. And as we say, we keep it real here on Basketball More in the Game. The tears just started rolling down my face. Yes. Because all of the hard work, the time and the effort, and walking out and hitting balls, and so and I know how I felt the last game that I was able to see the young men play, because actually Coach Dwight and I was getting ready to head to Hatti. So I went to, we're in Richmond, and they had won the playoffs game, and went by and saw them play. But that's what it's all about. So think about, let's kind of fast forward this. 20 years from now, no matter what Coach is, these young men are going to walk up and they're going to remember the time and the effort that he put into them, and sowing into that. So let's talk about this. I know your son was on that team, so let's talk about fathers that's out there coaching their sons. If you don't mind, share how do you keep that balance of coaching your son on a team, his teammates, and being able to go back in the gym and then watch them play under another coach?
It can be, well, let me start with this.
Okay.
Coaching your son it can be challenging. You have to make sure that you treat him the exact same way you treat the other kids on the basketball court. In practice, at the game, if your son messes up and you get on him, it's got to be like that for everybody.
Yep.
You can't let him slide because he's your son, or your other players will think it's unfair and won't play for you. So you have to keep it real, you know. As far as watching him with other coaches, sometimes it can be frustrating, you know, because I see him in a different light. Right. You know how parents are.
Yep.
You know, their kid's the best, you know. But I didn't expect too much. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't expect him to be a superstar or anything like that. I just want him to play his role and do it to the best of his ability.
You know what? And that's a great call out. So you know what? So here we go. You know how Coach Goins is. I'm going to call you out. So all you coaches that's dialing this in, and I know I'll get some feedback, but that's, you know, what Coach Dwight is framing out here is exactly right. You know, because, you know, every coach has different philosophy, and once that player understands his role and gets on that team, you know, being your son or not, or a player that you played with and he's on another coach's team during the season, you know, that player maybe comes back to you for feedback. So give him that feedback and understand his role. And that's what I loved about our high school coach. You know, Coach Capel he would bring everybody in as an individual and said, this is what I need for you to do on this team for us to be successful. If I need you to score 30 points a game, we're not going to win a game. And if I need you to be on the boards and dive for loose balls, that's what we need in order to be successful. So, you know, parents, you know, kind of pump the brakes a little bit and make sure that you understand and dial it in. And when you have an opportunity, you know, it's a two-way street. You know, don't think the coach always has to be the one to build that relationship. You as a parent can, you know, do the things, get involved. There's always, you know, concessions that need to be sold. Be that parent, so when you walk up and have an issue or a situation, you can have that conversation and then not always be on the defensive side of the ball of that conversation. So with that, I want to kind of turn the attention, because some people don't know that you went to James Madison on a scholarship.
Yes,
so
I did.
You know, not only are we talking a coach, not only are we talking about a husband, father, we also talk about sitting across the mic as an athlete. So let's kind of dip into that a little bit. Share with us what that experience was like being a college athlete back in the day.
It was exciting. That's what it was. You know, I had the opportunity to play two sports in college, so you know it was really exciting. You know, being on the football team, you know, a nationally ranked football team was real. And not that I played a lot. You know, I'm just a punter, but being on the team, I'm there. You
right.
know, and I'm in it. And you know, we got up to number 2 in the country, so it's like, this is awesome. You know, what else could I ask for?
That's right.
And then to turn around and be able to do, you know, track that I love so much, be able to long jump and triple jump. It was just an experience that you'll never forget. You know, you would like every person you know to experience that. You know, if you love to play a sport, and being able to do it on the college level is totally different in high school, because everyone on the team loves the sport. They're not just there to be a participant. They're there because they put in the time and the work to be there. And there's no other feeling like that, to be in one with the whole team, and you're all driving towards the same goal, and you've all put in the work to get to this level.
That's right. And so now guess what? Now you're gonna stop wondering why he's on the podcast, because not only, think about it. I mean, he's a 2-sport graduate. You know, as you said, football as well as track. So now you see why Dwight Simmons is on Basketball More in the Game and a basketball coach. So think about it. And you know what? We're setting history again, making history every episode we lay out. This is the first time we've had a 2-sport college athlete on the podcast, as well as a coach that has done, you know, great things at the local level. Recognized, again, wherever he goes, wherever Jimmy walks into, people know who he is just because of what he's laid out in front of these young men. So let's kind of just stay on that whole college scene. So you being recruited, what was that like? Were they coming at you with football and track? Was it a package, or were they saying, well, we want you for track? And then how did all that play out?
We had some come, you know, just for football, you know, a few. I wasn't this outstanding football player. I was decent. I was a very good punter. Okay. You know, I was a very good punter, so I had people could look at me for that. And, you know, track, I was pretty good. So I had, you know, many colleges checking me out for that. But, you know, I love both sports, you know, and JMU was the only school to offer me the chance to do both. And they said, here's some scholarship money to go along with that. And I said, well, that's great.
And I'm packing my bags and going north.
That's right.
You know what? That's all. And then watch this, folks. Now you gonna say, man, Coach, man, you just be out there just making sure you got all the hooks in the water. Folks, I know we're in the studio. We're live, and so there's other things going on. So That's why it was a little hesitation. They're working on some things in actually in the main sanctuary, but that's all good. So as we keep flowing, Coach Dwight, he's as we said, he's a husband, father, and both of his daughters. One's already graduated from JMU, and the other is a senior. Wow. Okay, well, let me sit down and take a deep breath here. So she is a senior already at JMU. So Dad went on a scholarship. And then his oldest daughter went on a scholarship.
Yes.
And his youngest daughter is there on an academic scholarship. So the Simmons household is top to bottom athlete, as well as my dad would say, has all that head knowledge to be able to be in that. So, let's talk about that. How proud are you as a parent to have both of your daughters follow in your footsteps, not just going to college, but going to your alma mater?
Well, it's great. For one thing, it's close.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to see them, it's 30 minutes I can go see them. The other thing is the fact that they love the same school that I love, it means the world to me. JMU is a great place, and I'm so proud that both girls decided to go there. I have two more at home, and I'm hoping they're going, the same direction. If they want to, it's great. If they don't want to, that's fine too. But I would love for them to go to JMU. It's a great school.
Right, and I know Coach is a big Carolina fan, but we're gonna save that for the second half of the podcast. But in that, so think about it, folks. When you go out and you talk to people, and you only know, you can't judge a book by its cover. So imagine when Coach Dwight walks in the gym and people go, "Oh, that's Coach Simmons. He coaches the AAU travel team, and they did this, and they went to Florida and they did this." But when you stop and know the individual, look at the wealth of knowledge that he has as an individual. One, college graduate. Two, he was a college athlete, two-sport at that, as well as having two daughters that are there. So again, when you listen to this podcast and you see him out and about, there ain't nothing but time and talent. Stop and tap into that and let him, one, assist you wherever that. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put him out there. But that's a lot of times people don't tap into opportunities, and it's right at your fingertips. And you may have questions, and how do you go about finding out about this school? I'm being recruited, and so right here in your own backyard. And those of you that are listening abroad, dial us in, shoot me an email, and I can forward that wherever I need to forward that. But that's why we do this show, so people can just take a few minutes out of their time, listen to what we have. And these ladies and gentlemen are taking their time out to come and pour into you things that they've been blessed with through their course of life. So you know what? It's that time of the podcast where I've got to drop in another little ad, and we're gonna toss this out to Act Sports. And if for your recreation and youth needs in Augusta County and surrounding areas, you want to go to www.playactsports.com and tap into that, because it is the hottest and greatest thing going. Some of the sports that they actually, if you're interested in playing flag football, you're late because registrations are closing. Same thing with volleyball. So next up will be rec basketball, and they'll also have soccer's flowing. They'll be doing travel basketball. They got baseball going. They did track and field. They went down and did an outstanding job at the, I think it was the Commonwealth Games. So, and actually, I was walking down the hall, the lights out, and almost fell over some wrestling mats. They got down the hallway. So, we are, busting at the seams, and just all for the right reasons. So we're very excited. So again, if you're looking for a great place to plug your kids in, that's going to look at the whole body, not just the not just the athlete. That's playactsports.com for your recreation needs. So, all right. So I got one more question before we jump into the second half of the podcast. So, with all of that football background and track and field background, who is your favorite football player and who is your favorite track star person?
My favorite football player would have to be, that's a tough one there. I'm a Steelers fan, just like you.
I mean, that's all right. That's all right.
It's hard to pick one of those guys.
It is, man, but that's all right. You heard that, folks. That was not a technical difficulty. He is a Steeler fan.
I'm thinking, wow. I think I have to go with Franco Harris, I think.
Okay, you know what? He's stealing off my sheet. That's the man. That is when somebody said, it is hard when you go and you start. But again, I grew up with Franco as the main running back in the late 70s, the 70s. he was the man. So I can't argue with that. Now, as it relates to track, I know you're a long jump and all that kind of. So who's your favorite person?
My favorite would have to be Carl Lewis.
Carl Lewis. All right. So why Carl? Why'd you?
His his ability to do all the different things he was doing. The 100, the 200, and the 4x1, and also go out and long jump. 28, 29 feet. It's amazing. You have plenty of fast guys. You have plenty of guys that can jump, but it's not that many can do both.
Right.
And for him to be able to do that and do it consistently for, oh my gosh, Olympics was the end.
Right, exactly.
He 12 years, 14 years, whatever it was, he was amazing the whole time.
Right, the whole time.
The whole time, yeah.
Yep, that's a good call out. You know what, folks? Again, so this is Dwight Simmons from Staunton, Virginia, college football player, as well as track star, and that was at James Madison University, husband, father, and just all-around dynamic gentleman. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to take a 30-minute break and kind of gather our thoughts because we get ready to move to the second part of the podcast. It's called In the Paint. So give Coach a few minutes to step to the bench and freshen up his Gatorade, and we'll be back in 30 seconds.
Hello, Shenandoah Valley. This is NBA Hall of Famer Ralph Sampson bringing you a new, exciting radio show called Out of Bounds with myself and Lamont Goins.
Hey, Ralph, thank you for the opportunity to co-host such a great show in the Shenandoah Valley. You will be impacted.
Hey, we're excited to bring you this new show. You don't want to miss it. Coming in August.
That's on 1240 ESPN Radio, and we'll see you Out of Bounds.
Stay tuned.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Coach Goins is back, and we just finished that little quick break. But, yeah, you heard right. We were actually in the studio last couple of days working on Out of Bounds with Ralph Sampson. That's always going to be a great opportunity. And as Coach Dwight said, his favorite Steeler was Franco Harris. So we are working hard to, get Franco on that line, and as well as Magic Johnson and Cal Ripken, Sugar Ray Leonard, so more to come on that. But you know what? We are back with none other than Mr. Dwight Simmons on Basketball More Than the Game. So as we get ready to get into what the second half of the podcast, which we call In the Paint, and I love this session because this is where we get down and dirty. And as we know, we can't stay in here with no more than 3 seconds. So we're going to be kind of picking and popping. So let's talk a little bit about basketball because we can't do a show unless we talk about basketball. So in that, I know you're a Carolina man.
Oh, yeah.
So, he national champion. This me riding high. Now, think about it now. State championship at the local level with his guys and his son, and then going out there to Phoenix and knock down the national championship off the heels of playing in the national championship the year prior. So, with that, I'm going to put you on the spot. Give us your greatest North Carolina moment as a fan.
Wow. I believe... The moment that sticks out in my mind the most is the Marvin Williams play against Duke. The rebound put back off the missed free throw. I think that's my moment.
All right. So now let me ask you this. You're a Virginia guy, and you end up going down and pulling for them hills down in my neck of the woods. So how'd that come about?
Well, to be honest, I was a UVA fan as a middle schooler. Ralph, local guy, Ralph Sampson, went to UVA. My mom knew him and his family and stuff because she's from Harrisonburg. So, I was a UVA fan when Ralph was there. But then, a childhood friend of mine, we grew up together, same street. He lived like 2 houses down from me. Kevin Madden went to North Carolina. Mm-hmm. And from that point on, it's been Carolina Blue ever since.
You know what? And I tell you, and when I say he's a fan because you know what, folks? He and his family make a trip. I think it's an annual trip.
Yes.
That they always go down to Blue Heaven. And some people that's never been to the Dean Dome. I grew up not too far from Chapel Hill. And no, I'm not a Carolina fan. I'm not a Duke fan. I just kind of just enjoy it and just kind of go. But you know what? One thing about that, if you ever have the opportunity to walk in the Dean Dome, it's one of those things that if you're a basketball fan, you need to put it on the bucket list. Same thing when you go into Cameron Indoor. I'm gonna call them out. Yeah, Duke, it's a dump. Okay, you walk in there, and I had the opportunity to go with Ralph not too long ago, and we were sitting in there and sitting on the wood bleachers, and about big enough that you couldn't even change your mind with so many people in there. But we had to wait until there was a timeout to get to our seats because you couldn't walk out because we were sitting. We actually had to walk out on the floor. But again, just two great institutions right there, close to each other. And I know Coach Dwight is a huge North Carolina fan, and as you said, the great Kevin Madden, who, if I'm not mistaken, was the Virginia Player of the Year his senior year.
Yes.
Went on down and had a great career and actually played for Dean Smith and none other than the legendary Michael Jordan was on that same squad. So, just a great opportunity to be down there and play. And again, right here from Staunton, Virginia, went to the same school Coach Simmons did. So, all right, Coach, we done talked about a little bit about basketball, and we're going to stay on that same vein. Let's talk about these one and dones. You're a basketball guy, and I know you're a college basketball man to your heart. What's your take on that?
Well, the one and dones, you like them when they're on your team. They're usually pretty good basketball players. You like them.
He's a smart guy.
But, here's how I feel kind of. I used to be, I didn't like the guys going from high school straight to the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like it because, I wanted them on my Carolina team, But as I've gotten older, I don't think it's right for us to try to hold anybody back from making money if they can.
Right.
So I think if they have the ability to go from high school to the NBA and someone's going to draft them, I think they should be able to go. I think it's a waste of time for the one and done.
You're right.
They're just there for a season, probably taking classes for a semester.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
And stay eligible, that's all they're worried about.
Yes. Right.
And in the second semester, they're not doing anything.
You know what? That's a huge, and I'm glad you brought that out, and I'm going to kind of go here with this. From old Coach Goins' seat, and as I look and just, he's saying that, and my mind runs back to Ben Simmons and how he was on this HBO special, and that's basically what he did. He just only stayed eligible through December. When January rolled around, he wouldn't go into class. That's and the only issue I have with it, most of these guys are not staying in the league for 3 or 4 years, and some of these guys, if they're not the elite players, you look at the guys that come out, this year 1, 2, and 3. Next year there's going to be somebody's going to be 1, 2, and 3 again, and again to be able to fall back on. But on that same vein, I also want to call out the young man that went back. I think Greg Oden. He's from Ohio. He's gone back to school, which is taken there. That's a huge step because due to injuries, and he went out. He was a big recruit, went in and just couldn't get it done just due to injury. But he's back in school, and that's the most important thing is to be able to get that education. Use that basketball train and ride that train. But when it's time to get off and it pulls into the station, and you might not think it's your stop, but if you've got to get off, make sure that you've got everything lined out and dialed in. So with that, as Coach keeps laying that down in reference to college basketball, I cannot have him on the show and not dip a little bit in this whole NBA madness with the grown men crying with LeBron and Kyrie Irving, and everybody wants to be the man. And if I saw Scottie Pippen right now, I think I'd hug his neck and just say appreciate him understanding his role and playing the years that he did with it. So, Coach, what's your take on this whole I want to be the man, and why can't guys get together like think about back when the Celtics was rolling, the Lakers was Showtime, and there was all those superstars, but yet they came. But come on, talk to us about that.
I think part of this is, when you're a good player, you get pampered. From high school or middle school.
Come on.
On through.
Come on.
You're the best player in your town.
Mm-hmm.
You're the best player on your travel team. And you get all these accolades, and all these coaches are after you and stuff. And, they get spoiled. You do. And is it their fault? Probably not. But should they grow up? Probably so.
I like that. Come on.
But, if I have a chance to win a championship and I'm playing on a team with, like, Kyrie Irving and LeBron, why in the world would I want to leave to go somewhere else just so I can be the man, but I'm not going to win a championship? Is it about the championship? He's got money.
Right.
So what is it about?
Right.
You should be playing for the goal, which is to win the ring. I'm pretty sure playing with LeBron gives you a pretty good chance to win the ring. Every year.
Every year. If you took LeBron and dropped him in D.C. up there with the Wizards, and next thing you know what, Coach ain't got a crystal ball, but I think they'd be in the NBA Finals.
Got that right.
Just because it's LeBron. Again, and I'm not knocking anybody, or again, neither Coach or myself aren't. But what we're calling out is just and I know everybody's looking at it for different reasons, but as individuals get out and they just don't understand that it is very tough to play the game by yourself.
Yes.
You look what Kevin Durant did. He left and rolled over to Golden State. Now, if somebody would have been able to pull those coattails years ago, people forget that James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and KD was all on the same team, but now they were young. And everybody wanted to be the man, and they wanted to jump out and go do their own thing, and so it is what it is. But Coach is calling out some great things, and as you young players and you coaches, we want to challenge you with this. Appreciate the players that you have, but don't take that best player and put them on that pedestal. Because that is Coach is exactly right. It's alive and well. And we as adults and coaches, we have to be able to make sure we reel that in and just don't let these guys get out and rock and roll. So, hey, listen, as we continue to roll in the paint, we want to take this thing to, just kind of, share a little bit as what Coach Dwight and his wife are doing on the international scene. You say, Coach, man, that's why this guy's on the show. Listen, I'm telling you, he's been a football player, college level. He's a college track star, as well as his daughter's in college, graduate, and one's a senior, just making it happen top to bottom. But I also had the opportunity, and again, we're making history. First person I've ever had on the podcast and we travel international with. I had the opportunity to go with Dwight and his wife down to Haiti. So we were down there actually, when was it? I guess it was almost wintertime here. But it was like in February. It was February, and we went down. It was like 90-some degrees. Lizards falling off of the top of the building. We had some great fish. But if you don't mind, Coach, kind of share what's on you guys' heart and your trips to Haiti and what you've seen and the impact that you guys are making in that country.
Well, our heart is to help our fellow man, or fellow child, as it may be. They are struggling. They are in Haiti, and we want to do whatever we can to help Haiti rebuild and reshape their future. Because right now the future for them is bleak. It is, and we want to be able to help in building Haiti up into a great nation that can change a whole lot of lives. And we want to start with the children, and the opportunity is there for us. And we're going to take it. I'm a lover of sports. You know that.
You're right.
Any sport. I love them all. And we're going to take what we have here at Victory Worship Center, our Acts Sports program, and we're going to do the same thing in Haiti. We're going to start a sports program. And then from that, we will add in, teaching, life skills, trade skills, whatever we can do to help the community and help Haiti rebound. You know what? And that's a huge, that's a huge thing. And the reason why I say that, because again, not only when I was down in, just as a fact-finding part of the staff that went down, but I tell you, I have been in some third world countries, and Haiti is Haiti. And I'll leave it like that. It's not Coach Goins' his position. But it is very, very hard to be in that environment and see how the people, because actually we went out to dinner, and I guarantee you we were there hour and a half, 2 hours. And the whole time there was constantly people at the well pumping water, hauling water. And I'm telling you, carrying 5-gallon buckets on top of their head, a couple of, 5-gallon buckets under their arm. And they're not walking down the street. They're walking back up in the hills on these stones. We stopped by a couple orphanages, and I was trying to carry, a couple packs of, chewing gum in my bag, and I was handing out these sticks of gum, and it was as if I was giving away gold bullion, to some of these kids. So your heart goes out. It's very emotional, but I tell you, if you got a loved one nearby, you need to make sure you tell them that you love them, hug them.
and understand that we're very, very blessed to be in this country. I know, we've been dealing with some of that over-the-top stuff, as I call it, and I'll leave it alone. That, and actually right in our back door over in Charlottesville, I had the opportunity to go over there last weekend. But in that, we are very fortunate. When you go, like Coach and his wife has been traveling over there numerous times, not just, one and dones, and they're going over there and they're spending a lot of time, investing and inviting and just really working hard in order to make a difference. Because there's a lot of work to be done, and you can't sit back in the sideline and saying woulda, shoulda, coulda. But so again, we applaud them for their continued effort as they move forward. And again, that's what basketball more than the game is about. It's about getting the word out, making an impact. So if you want some additional information, please reach out to Coach Goins, and I'll make sure that I get that information to Coach Simmons and his family, as well as Victory Worship Center. So again, we are trying to make a difference, and we will make a difference in every place that we put our foot. And I guarantee you that. So as we start to put the wraps on this thing and we get ready to embark in college football, man, I tell you, and he's a Clemson fan, so we're going to go there. They won in that. I'm telling you this, come on now. Think about it. I'm going to go back and recap it again. State championship here at the local level with his son and his guys that he coached. Won the college basketball championship with them Hills out there in Arizona, and then went on out there and won the national championship with them Clemson Tigers. I'm going to have to ask him, did he have that Powerball lottery ticket in his pocket?
I wish I did.
he would have been a clean sweep, man. From a sport, you think about that. Not a lot of people, and the Steelers played in the AFC Championship game, so he was at the pinnacle of almost all of the sports this year. But going into college football, I see Clemson rolled out some big time money for Coach Sweeney down there. I ain't know Clemson had that kind of money. But in that, tell us how you became a Clemson fan, and give us a prediction on how you guys will defend that title this year.
Oddly enough, becoming a Clemson fan, I was pretty much a bandwagon, but this was back in '81 when they won a championship.
Shoot, okay.
Okay, so I was young. I knew Clemson was the underdog, wasn't supposed to win. They won. Well, hey, I like that team. That's my team right there.
I'm riding with them.
They have a couple of guys on their team. I liked them and stuff. I said, okay, yeah, that's my team. Yeah. Well, from '81 till now, it's been a whole lot of suffering. It's been a long time.
That's right.
But I've been riding with them since '81, and I've stuck with them through, a lot of coaches and a lot of losses. And it just feels good, man, to finally see that program get back to the top. And Coach Sweeney is doing it the right way. His guys, he loves them. He tells them he loves them. He teaches them, make sure they're becoming men, and make sure they have life after football. That's the other thing he's doing.
You know what? That's huge. And think about it. This Coach Simmons grew up in Virginia. Not too far from where we're actually doing this show today. But then in that, think about it. He loves the football team that's in Pennsylvania. He loves the college basketball team that's in North Carolina. And then we just go down south to South Carolina, where he loves that college football team, and he's spending time out the country. So you know what? You ain't got to be homebred, home cooked not to enjoy sports. So it's just a diversity that just makes the wheels go around, and that's what's so great about what we do and what we try to do here on Basketball More Than the Game. It's not just to talk about basketball. It's to talk about life. It's talk about what you do away from the court. The game has been great to Coach Simmons. The game has been great for me and my family. And you know what? And what we try to do is just give back. And as he said and talked about his successes at the college level, and now that he's a professional and being the mover and shaker that he is. So in that, Coach, you know what we're going to do? I'm going to go ahead and just kind of quiet down over here and give you your closing comments and what's on your heart for our listening audience. Coach, you have the mic.
I think one point I want to get across is, don't take the kids for granted. You only have a short period of time to influence them, and to speak into their lives. So take the time and, speak positive things to their life, help them along when they need help. And if you do that, not only will you reap the reward, they will too. You'll see them grow up and become great adults. And when you see them 20 years from now, they'll come, hey, Coach, how you doing, man? I haven't seen you in a long time. And it's the best feeling in the world to know that, you had an influence on this person who's doing great things. So don't waste your time. Take your time and spend it with children and help them, lead them, guide them.
Wow. You know what? I ain't touching none of that. I ain't touching none of that. So you know what? And don't ask me why he was on the show, because if you ain't dialed that in, I ain't nothing I can do for you. So as we always say, and as we start winding down the broadcast, we want to make sure that we drop our verse at John 14:6. I'm the way, the truth, and the light. And I'm your host, Coach Goins. And as we always say, somebody somewhere is working on the game, and I'll see you in the gym.